Click the links to join the channel over at Subscribestar or here. I have a mailbox. You want to drop me some comics that you want me to take a look at. So Barbie headed to 1 billion. I don't press F to doubt on that. So Margot Robbie, somebody said that she's the perfect Barbie because she's the non-threatening Barbie. Even though she's like clinically everything's in the right place, she's still hot, but she's kind of too old to be in that peak male desirability range, which kind of passed her sell-by date by like 10 years, and she doesn't have that curvy body that like connects to men on like a primal level like Scarlett Johansson did. So Barbie is the perfect movie for the American feminists because it's mean-spirited but also simultaneously incompetent. If you want to see it, you can Sail the High Seas. It's on Movie 7. It's really not worth your time to watch it. It's slow and preachy about feminism, and the messaging doesn't even make sense because they contradict themselves. And it's a 2-hour movie. It should have been 90 minutes. You could have edited all that stuff out about like the lectures on the patriarchy and just turned it into a pure comedy. If they're for equal rights in Barbie land, then they have to share power with the men, but they don't. The men aren't allowed power for some reason. So in their world, the strawman patriarchy is bad, but the real matriarchy is fine. Barbie took what they didn't like about the patriarchy and they just turned it into a matriarchy where they're the ruling class and the men don't get equal representation. Like you could have had it, that would have worked fine, but at the end, the women learned a lesson that they have to share power. But they don't. In fact, they reinforce their beliefs that the men are nothing more than slaves. Friggin' bizarre. You understand? It's a meta commentary. The woman who made this movie is not that deep. So the movie sucks more so because it could have been funny. The movie had funny scenes, but it wasn't funny. And the preachy lectures absolutely suck the fun right out of this. It could have been the next Something About Mary if they wanted to do it, and she just couldn't do it. She couldn't pull it off. And the thing is, that's not the movie she set out to make. She set out to make a feminist movie, which in 2023 is kind of weird. The thing is, everyone already knows about feminism. The people who care, and the people who don't are never going to care. To relitigate it is just an exercise in futility. So what happens is the opening scene is doing the 2001 bit, but that's been done to death already. Then the girls are taught that they need to replace their baby dolls with a buxom adult sex symbol. Honestly, the creation of the Barbie doll itself and the kind of the what is it? I guess it's this one of the roads. I don't want to say it's the start to cultural Bolshevism, but it's a piece of it. Because they're teaching girls that they shouldn't be mothers. They should aspire to be sexual pleasure for men. To replace a baby doll, where they're learning about motherhood, or at least they're pretending to be moms, like women and girls have done for millions of years. There's ancient rag dolls you can find from 10,000-year-old European settlements and whatnot. They replace that with this like adult tall doll that's based on a sex toy. I mean, the whole thing is just deeper and darker rabbit hole when you go down that path. So the message of Barbie is completely different because you're taking away teaching them about motherhood and creating new life and bringing life into the tribe to focusing on their roles as a single woman. So then the little girls take the Barbie dolls and they smash them on the rocks and they throw the corpses away. That was in the preview. That's still on YouTube. And even if you don't rabbit hole spelunk, that's an obvious dark scene. And I wasn't the only one who saw that. You can go in the comments and talk to people about it. Let's smash the little blonde dolls. I wonder what the response would have been if the dolls were black or brown. Somehow I don't think that would have gone over as well. If someone told me that they honestly thought this was a good movie, it just means they weren't paying attention. They went in, they got popcorn, they turned off their brain, and they just watched the pink explosion on screen. It wasn't even good as a dumb popcorn movie because it was too preachy. And if you want me to see a movie and do a review of it, you can. If you pay for the movie and the popcorn, I will do it. That's how much of a cheap date I am. So they push this bizarre narrative about how hard life was for women, and it for sure is. I mean, they do bring life into the world, except that they leave men out of the equation. Isn't life even harder for men? Objectively, they do suffer more injuries and early mortality. The men do the most brutal, dangerous jobs on Earth. But in Barbie, they're upset that the men run Mattel, except the men also run the sewer systems and they build roofs in summer, and they're the ones who are running fishing boats and all the insanely dangerous heavy industry. Hey, let's work with some molten steel. Oh, we lost lost Bob. He fell into a tank of molten steel. Oh, what a horrible way to go. Yeah, that's all men who do all that kind of stuff. I mean, with the risks come the reward, and that's part of life. So a battle of the sexes in 2023 is stupid. Men are actively doing these things because women are not as good at most of those things, because their role is naturally to have and raise kids, and most women and men are very happy with the sexual roles. And I can't knock women for liking movies like this, because we like stuff. I know I'm talking to a male audience, as stupid as Commando and all those kind of Schwarzenegger, Rambo type of dumb movies. That women are looking at these movies and like, I don't see what you see in this. You don't understand. He's doing things, and things are blowing up in the background. So another weird thing is they have this morbidly obese Barbie. Like, she's over 300 pounds. She's on screen now. Literally a sphere, but they don't have an equally fat Ken. This chick is like 150 pounds over fat. They do have a Ken in the background dance scene who's like 30 pounds overweight, and he's got a little bit of a beer belly. But this chick is in several scenes. She's a prominent, you can't miss her. And she's huge. She's 300 pounds. And this person on the right is a biological male. Anyway, so they leave Barbie Land. They go to L.A. and there's 50 guys in current year in Santa Monica, I think, who catcall Barbie. They're all, of course, white guys dressed like college frat preppies in like a 1980 cliche ski school movie where the preppies have to fight the townies or something just stupid like that. And they're in, I think, Santa Monica or Beverly Hills. What's that beach outside there? And then a white guy comes up and sexually assaults Barbie, because that's who typically does those things in current year. I mean, in LA, in Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, there's no shortage of women who look just as good as Margot Robbie. That's very common. In fact, you're going to find women who are better than her. Nobody catcalls them or runs around sexually assaulting them, because it's standard in places like that. And there's places where you have like wealth consolidated like that, like as parts of Santa Barbara. There's South Lake Tahoe. You have, like, that's just common. That's just, you expect to see that. It's not something out of the ordinary. She's not, there's nobody in LA who is so stunningly beautiful that they stand out, because it's just a sea of beautiful women. But like, she needed to put that in the movie, even if it doesn't make sense. It's like, it only makes sense if I don't know if you've never been to Santa Monica or something. And the real world, what happened is, like, she would pepper spray the guy, and then Ken, Ryan Gosling, who himself is very physically fit, is standing right next to her. He would just kick the hell out of this guy. It's like, so, but they put that in the scene. It's like nobody ever stops and asks questions. Like, that doesn't make sense. You're just doing that to carry the scene along. But it's like, it just feels dumb. Anyway, so the whole movie is this feminist straw man view of how life is in the first world nation. It's insanely stupid, but it's perfect for the average feminist. If they didn't have the straw man view of oppression, they would have to deal with real world issues. This movie is so stupid, it hurts to watch, and it's made $150 million worldwide. It is going to have a just huge opening weekend. Domestically, it's already at $70 million from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, today's Saturday. It's going to, I don't know, another over $50 million today and over $50 million tomorrow. This is going to be a stunning opening weekend. I still think it's going to drop off a cliff the second weekend, because fundamentally it's not a fun movie. It's dark, sinister, and incompetent in its messaging. I will say it has had the best marketing strategy with a lot of luck, because people memed this movie into just, they said something like it got $70 million in free publicity. So they underspent on their ad campaign, so it's almost guaranteed to be profitable. The thing is, it's not the fun chick flick that people think it is. Margot Robbie in this role is not a likable character. She treats who's the guy, Ryan Gosling as Ken. Absolutely, he's the only good part about the show. But she treats the Kens like objects, like, F toys. And if the message is about feminism, it's just showing how bitter and cruel the women are. The whole thing is stupid. It's 2023. You're in the first world, and you're trying to do some battle of the sexes thing when nobody really cares. That all ended in 2016, where the left wing got distracted by the shiny object that was Trump. If you're a woman and whatever you want to do in current year, including running a business or being a doctor, lawyer, or whatever, professor, it's you have an easier path ahead of you because you'll get preferential hiring treatment. So like this, all modern feminists in the first world have. I'm not talking about other parts of the world where things are they're actually fighting for equality. You just don't have that argument in the first world. Like women can be anything they want if they really, really want to do it and give up having a family. It's like that's the compromise, obviously. Anyway, so they could have made this a fun romantic comedy, but she just made this feminist mess. I have to maintain my faith that this is going to tank next weekend. Otherwise, a sizable percentage of the population is just too stupid for me to contemplate. All right, I love Rachel Leishman's Mary Sue articles. They're so bizarrely over the top silly. But the thing is, you also got to consider what else is out in the theaters right now, what to compete with it. You got Oppenheimer and Mission Impossible. Those are clearly men-skewed movies. Barbie is a pink explosion with characters that the women want to be, except for the fat one or the male one, I suppose. Which reminds me that there's another weird scene where she's in the human world and she's talking to the guys at Mattel. The leaders, Will Ferrell is playing the president, and they're all men. But I wondered, and she has some kind of issue with that because in her world, the women have all the power. Like the messaging, this could have been done so much. Like even if you wanted to do a feminist messaging, you absolutely could have done it. This was incompetent at a feminist messaging and at a comedy and at a romance. It was just a mess, and it's just doing so well because it's this. You have beautiful women, and there's pink colors. Yeah, you're gonna have a built-in audience. And Barbie, it's a toy that's been around for 70 years. And Margot Robbie, though she has been in it, people point out she's been in like 3 or 4 bombs. So her films are not exactly printing money, but she's easy on the eyes, and there's so much pink that women just see this like toy pink, beautiful woman, but not too beautiful. And they, like, of course, it made $150 million. It's gonna make its money back for sure. I just don't know. Like people are expecting it to go, it could be $800 million. I don't think it's the next Titanic or the next Notebook. And it's just right-wing copium. You're just hoping it fails. I don't know. No, when we say I say at least I don't care. Why would I care? Why would I care about Barbie? I watched it because I could talk about it. Because I wanted to see, like, sometimes you have to watch things to kind of put your finger on the pulse to see where people are. And this is hard to do because it was done so incompetently. Like you can see it for yourself. You can go on Movie 7. You can go see it for yourself. You're gonna come away. I think you're gonna come away with the same feeling of like this could have been done. If you want to make a comedy, it could have been done better. If you want to make I could have written this as a feminist story about, like, I could have written this with a little bit more nuance, and I would have made it like a true feminist story. I would not have had to strawman it, because yes, there are aspects of areas where men could be a lot better, of course. Like I would have told that story, and if you want to play down the other aspects of it, you could do it. This just wasn't that. This just wasn't as done as well as people think it is. But they have this massive publicity machine on Twitter now to get people to go out and see this, and it's totally working. But I think I think next Friday, I think this drop off on this is going to be like 80%. Like, okay, well, we'll take notes on this video and come back and like, yeah, I'm probably right. Anyway, so the thing is, she's talking to Will Ferrell and all the guys, and in her world it's all women, but in this world it's all men. You go like, okay, so that's not acceptable in either world, because when you go back to Barbie Land, it becomes acceptable again because the men try to start seizing power for themselves, and you take the power away from them. So like the rules in your world, the rules of ethics, morals, whatever, are that the women can rule over the men. They can't. Matriarchy is acceptable, but in this other world, the patriarchy is not acceptable. And yes, one's a real world, one's fictional world, but that's your messaging. It doesn't make sense. The only way to redeem the movie would be at the end of the movie to go, you know what, we're gonna have to Ken and Barbie have to share the power together. That if the movie was made by men, that's how they would have done it, and they didn't do it. She's just like. He asks, so can we have a Supreme Court justice? I guess there's 3 people on a tribunal. And she goes, no, I'm not going to let you do that. It's like, well, that's not how justices are picked. They're they're appointed by the president, at least on Earth, or at least in America. And then she goes, you can have a lower court position, like an appellate court or something. And it's like, well, those are also appointed by the president. So that kind of doesn't make sense because it shouldn't be arbitrary. It's like, if you believe in feminism and equality, it's like, well, then shouldn't men have equal representation in the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch? No. It's like, I'm going to arbitrarily decide what representation you can have. It's like, well, that's just you're just doing the same thing as like what you claim the patriarchy is doing, but you're saying this is okay. The messaging doesn't make sense. Yes, I could make a better movie than this Greta Gerwig chick. And the other thing about the Will Ferrell, and it's like it's all men at most of these companies. It's like, yeah, that's most likely the case. But if in Barbie's world, one of the Barbies is literally a man in a dress, but they're not with the Ken dolls, they're with the Barbie dolls. So in her universe, if you identify as something, then you are that thing. So under those rules, if the men at Mattel, the toy company, if they identified as women, that would be the only way to be acceptable. Like, that would meet the rules of your ethics, would be if men are only acceptable if they identify as women in your world. Like, if they didn't change anything, they just identified as women. It's like, oh, well, women do run this company. It's just like our world. I mean, they're biological men, but I'm trying to say is, like, when you ask feminists to logic, do they even logic, to logically explain themselves, they don't want to because they can't. It's like, you have one joke, but you never resolve. It's an issue. It's like, if you can't identify the difference between men and women, that's a discussion that has to be resolved, and they never resolve it because it goes to circular reasoning, and that's nonsensical. It's like, you saying you want to live in a non-causal universe. How do you do anything if you don't believe in causality, if you don't believe in facts and logic? And you get where I'm going with that. It could be, this could be a very long video. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, join the channel here, over at Subscribe Star. Thanks to everyone who has been sending comics. I'll do reviews on them shortly, and I will see you guys all next episode.